We hope you enjoy this audio-only podcast. You can watch the full video versions on our YouTube channel at All Things Unexplained. There we share visuals, documents, and extended discussions you won't hear anywhere else. While you're there, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new video. But for now, enjoy this audio version of All Things Unexplained.
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, will say for close up.
All right, Unexplained ones, it's Dr. Mounts, and welcome back to All Things Unexplained. There's an update in the Melissa Casias case with some strange items that were found in the area where she was discovered. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we do weekly content on UFOs, Bigfoot, aliens, astrophysics, and everything in between. And yes, it's absolutely free. So if you're into those kinds of things and you want to support the channel, hit that sub button, leave a comment down below, and that will automatically enter you into our giveaways. And we have a lot of exciting things to give away. Just be a sub to All Things Unexplained. Leave a comment if you want. Stick around to the end of the video and we'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. For this update, we're going to go back to Lauren Conlon on X. She tweeted out yesterday evening, June 29th, strange new evidence recovered from scene where Melissa Casias' remains were found. So going over to her article in Los Angeles magazine, the headline is New Evidence Recovered from Scene Where Melissa Casias' Remains Were Found. The family's attorney says an independent search of the remote forest where Casias was found uncovered more bizarre evidence as loved ones push for answers and justice. LA Magazine first reported that the family of missing, now deceased, Los Alamos National Laboratory employee Melissa Casias had retained a law firm to conduct an independent investigation into the 53-year-old's mysterious disappearance and subsequent death. Of course, we know Casias went missing from her home last summer. There was video of her walking down the road, heading towards a national forest. That national forest was extensively searched, and then later, work crews were in there working. But it was only just a few weeks ago that a random hiker discovered her body at 8,000 feet elevation, sitting up against a tree, handgun beside the body, reportedly a bullet wound to the head. The article says the discovery of additional items at the recovery site only deepens the mystery surrounding what happened to Casias, who was a wife, mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and friend whose disappearance and death continue to raise more questions than answers. For Melissa's niece, Jasmine McMillan, the discovery of her aunt's remains has not brought any closure for the family. McMillan told Los Angeles magazine, "From day one, we've been fighting the idea that Melissa simply left on her own and abandoned her daughter. That couldn't be further from who she was. Melissa loved her daughter more than anything, and we believe that narrative may have prevented the investigation from receiving the urgency it deserved." You may recall one update that All Things Unexplained discovered through FOIA was that last summer, Jasmine McMillan said that the FBI and Homeland Security were involved in the Casias case, but our FOIA request with the FBI actually turned up no documents related to Melissa Casias. Now, that does not mean that they weren't involved in some capacity, because it is quite possible they were. And for whatever reason, the documents just aren't showing up in my FOIA request. But it is a piece of data worth noting. Now, a weekend report by local outlet KLB4 reveals that the family's attorney says several additional items of potential evidence were discovered after the family conducted its own search of the area while awaiting Casias' autopsy results. And here's what was found. Articles of clothing, paper that was, shredded into pieces, wrappers. Lots of different types of hair was found. There was an orange peel found, and bones were also found as well. Attorney David Adams told KLB4, "These items were found by an SAR team hired by members of the Casias family, not by the New Mexico State Police." Jasmine McMillan also told LA Magazine that her own mother, Melissa's sister, recognized Melissa's handwriting on several of the torn pieces of paper reportedly recovered from the scene where her remains were found. Anyone with information about Melissa Casias' disappearance or death is urged to contact Parnell and Adams Law at management@parnelladams.com. That's PARNALLADAMS. Call 505-600-1417, or you can contact the New Mexico State Police tip line at 1-800-457-3463. So let's look at that again. Articles of clothing. What would be good to know there is that verification. Was any of that Melissa's clothing, or was it clothing potentially belonging to someone else who could have been out there with her? Paper shredded into pieces, apparently with her handwriting on it. Wrappers. I wonder if wrappers is an indication that what we have speculated about before, could she have been out there surviving on her own for a little while? Lots of different types of hair was found. I wonder, do they think this is all Melissa's hair, or perhaps some belongs to someone else? The orange peel found, that also seems to corroborate the theory that Melissa might have been out there surviving on her own for an unknown amount of time, and that is perhaps why her body was not discovered in earlier searches or by workers later on in the area. Now, it's disturbing that they said they found bones. It's hard to know exactly how to interpret that, because it could be animal bones, of course, but there is the disturbing possibility it could be human bones. And then, are these bones related to Melissa's situation? Hopefully we'll get some firm answers on that soon. Since this search was not conducted by the police, we're not sure if any of this was turned over to the police for analysis, or if they'll have their own independent people conduct an analysis. But I do think it's very telling in terms of what the family thinks here, that they are continuing to investigate this matter. Because I'm afraid that for the police, this has the potential to be what they would label an open and shut case. It just seems like this case is far too complex for such a simplistic judgment. Now, I want to talk a little bit about several of these cases that we've been discussing on the channel, and how the likelihood that they are potentially connected continues to increase, in my opinion. I'm starting to have this fear that these people could have simply stumbled upon the wrong information. Or in the case of McCasland, he may not have stumbled upon the information whatsoever. He may have just been privy to it, outright knowing this information. And perhaps, if he was suffering from mental decline, that could have made some people nervous. In terms of General Neil McCasland, who went missing in February 2026, let's review the clip that I discovered from a conference that he was presenting at to the Air Force on behalf of the Air Force Research Laboratory. And this was in 2013.
Let's keep moving here. Our next portfolio in the space and the nuclear business, these are largely spread around three main themes here. Access, we've got some major investments in reducing the cost of access to space, in payload technologies, things that create better choices for both the NRO and the Air Force's Space and Missile Center in terms of engineering payloads, and then space situational awareness, the information management, information exploitation, command and control of sensing, and information extraction for the surveillance of what is something like 10 to the 22nd cubic miles of space containing 20,000 objects that potentially matter to us.
I continue to be shocked by that clip where he tells folks gathered from the Air Force back in 2013, the Air Force, based on technology that the AFRL is developing, we are conducting surveillance of a fantastically giant swath of space, 10 to the 22nd power cubic miles. If we were to turn that into a cube with Earth as the center, each side of the cube would be 21.5 million miles long. That is a fourth of the way to the sun. And he specifically calls out this number, 20,000 objects. They were conducting surveillance of approximately 20,000 objects within this huge region of space. He knew what these objects were. He knew what he was talking about, and you get the sense that the audience did as well, or at least some of the audience did. I said I have a new theory now. At some point in time, we have become aware of individual UAPs, individual UFOs, that we have tracked their movements through space. And what he said here seems to support that. And by the way, there's really only one reason why the Air Force would be tracking these objects, and that's if it had directly to do with national security. Let's flash forward to either late 2015 or early 2016 when Tom DeLonge told George Knapp on Coast to Coast AM about his first ever meeting with General McCasland. And we know that General McCasland did, in fact, go on to advise for To the Stars, which Tom DeLonge headed. And here's what he had to say about McCasland.
First meeting with the main advisor was very clear that they were trying to do something that was best for the Republic. That came out like 8 times over a period of 2 hours. We went through the conversation of, I don't think you can keep a secret, to where it was the Cold War and we found the life form, bounce forward to like, what we need to do for the Republic is X. And this is the best for the Republic. The United States needs this. And it was very thoughtful considerations. It made me really patriotic. You know, it was not what I was expecting. These guys are trying to deal with something that is what they term an existential threat.
These guys are trying to deal with something that they term an existential threat. An existential threat is defined as any danger that poses a fundamental risk to the continued existence or survival of an entity. One of the two main contexts in which this concept is typically broken down into are global catastrophic risk. It just so happens that global catastrophic risk were exactly what Michael David Hicks was looking into. We talked about Hicks on this channel. He worked for NASA JPL. He was looking into asteroids that posed a threat to planetary defense, not just national security, planetary security. Nick Pope came on All Things Unexplained one night. Rest in peace, Nick Pope. We definitely miss you. I reached out to him one morning wanting to discuss something. He said, yes, I'll go on live with you tonight, which was just amazing. And that's what kind of person Nick Pope was. But what he told us that night was kind of shocking, and it had to do with what if there is a truth out there, but that truth is something much too terrible to tell. One of the things Nick encouraged us to do was look at the SETI protocols. And you can visit the SETI protocols for an ETI signal detection. This is their declaration of principles concerning the conduct of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. In other words, these protocols dictate what exactly SETI will do if they ever do discover and confirm an extraterrestrial signal. And I want to look at the 6th protocol specifically here. And the 6th protocol has to do with post-detection after they have confirmed an extraterrestrial signal. But I want to hone in on number 3 here, communicating verification. If SETI discovers a signal that is due to extraterrestrial intelligence, the discoverers or their organizations or institutions should promptly report this conclusion in a full, complete, and open manner to the public, the scientific community, and the Secretary General of the United Nations. So in other words, SETI discovers this extraterrestrial signal, and their protocols say, we've got to immediately push this out there to the public and to some others, specifically the public, the scientific community, and the United Nations. If you scroll down to principle number 8, ethical and legal considerations, it says SETI practitioners shall adhere to the highest ethical standards, ensuring cooperation, honesty, and integrity in all aspects of their work. They will collaborate with international legal authorities to establish clear frameworks for managing the dissemination of information about potential extraterrestrial detections and comply with relevant laws and regulations. Said he shall collaborate with ethicists in establishing and following ethical standards for the handling of any putative and or confirmed detected evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, including transparency and responsibility towards the global community. So what I wonder there is, does that protocol give them an out if they've confirmed an extraterrestrial signal, but the dissemination of that information would be something so horrible to the general population, somebody determines that just may not be the best idea. It might literally be a truth much too terrible to tell. And now with modern UAP sightings, which I've talked about recently, from the Tic Tac to the gimbal to the Go Fast to the New Jersey drones to drone orb incursions of our sensitive military and nuclear sites, we're dealing with something in our airspace that the military literally cannot figure out what it is. They seem to have some idea about where they might be emerging from, caves or caverns, for example, potentially. And All Things Unexplained, we have connected some dots to some potential abandoned subterranean areas near sensitive sites that could be used as a base of operations for such a thing. But these are such a mystery that we have now had the formation of a UAP governance board, and specifically, Avi Loeb has been placed in charge of a UAP advisory council, which reports to the governance board, and their primary objective has to do with national security. So again, I'm starting to wonder about the possibility when we're thinking about General Neil McCasland, Monica Reza, Michael David Hicks, Melissa Casias, Anthony Chavez, who we recently talked about on the channel. Is it possible that they stumbled upon a terrible secret? A secret so terrible that once they knew, there was no going back. Something is happening to scientists and high-ranking officials in the United States and around the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, Unexplained Ones, let's get into this giveaway stuff before we let you go. We've got lots of signed books to give away by authors like New York Times bestselling author Patricia Cornwell, Disney author David Koning, Bev Vincent, who writes in the Stephen King multiverse, friend of the show Lee Starks, Colonel Drew Miller, and much more. Just be a sub, leave a comment, and of course, if you like the video, smash the like button for me. That would really help us out. All right, this is Dr. Mounts. You've been listening to All Things Unexplained. I appreciate all of you out there that have subscribed, that have been commenting on the videos, that have liked them, that have shared them. Thank you so much. We continue to fight the dreaded YouTube algorithm. Reminds me of that song, I Fought the Law, and the Law won. That's kind of what it feels like right now. But again, thank you so much to all of you out there. I really appreciate you. Let's continue to remember these people that have been affected by this in our thoughts and prayers. We still have some of these people that are missing, and they have friends and loved ones that are actively searching for them. So until next time, let's take some time, get off our screens, go outside, take the dog on a walk, get some fresh air, look up at the sky, and get in closer touch with yourself. Thanks, everybody.
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that I think, sir, will save for close-up.